Good evening. My name is Roger Strickland. This is Mr. Jimmy Williams, Miss Anidria Gunn. We are your assigned instructors for this class, Management 3025. And tonight is Wednesday night, January the 7th, 2015, our initial meeting. Here we go. I sincerely hope you will make every effort to join us on the evenings when we meet. In your Canvas materials, and we'll look at Canvas in a moment, there is a document called Why Come to Class? Part of the reasoning in having classes is first so we can explain any materials you might want to discuss, because you'll have a good bit of reading and writing and creating to do, but also so that you can come in here and get to know one another. For most of you, this is your first or second term in the management program. Why not get to know your classmates? Make sure your social skills are good, and work as teams. Build camaraderie, build friendships, build study groups, and go through this program in a cooperative manner with a few other people. If you will do that, you will find, I think, that it is a lot easier because you can divide up some of the work, and it's a whole lot more fun talking with people who have common interests and common goals. And of course, it always allows the 4 or 5 or 12 of you to get around together and say nasty things about your instructors. That's always very, cathartic.
There's rumors.
Yeah, and create more rumors about us. God knows I got enough out here now. Let me ask first, Jimmy and Anidria, would either of you like to make some introductory comments here?
Sure. I'm Anidria Gunn, and some of you heard a discussion earlier about advisement. I work over in academic advisement full-time, so I'm here on campus usually Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30. So if you're on campus and you have some questions or some issues about one of the assignments or something, stop by. Feel free to stop by my office. Most times you have to sign in at the front desk, but tell them that you're in my class, and they'll sign you in to see me. And stop by anytime.
And your office is in Building R?
Yes, R201.
R201.
So sorry.
That's okay. We'll remember this for next time.
And I'm Jimmy Williams. I'm actually retired after almost 30 years in human resources management. A couple of semesters ago, I got dragged out of my life of leisure, and but I'm having a whole bunch of fun, and you're going to learn a lot of things in this class. I want to piggyback on something that Roger said a couple of minutes ago. I was sitting out in the hallway. We were waiting for the class to begin, and happened to bump into a student who was in this classroom about 3 semesters ago, and she was chatting with another young lady who was in that class with her, and they have taken every class together since then, and they use each other for support. So what he's talking about is not just anecdotal kinds of things, they actually do happen.
Yeah. One of the other courses I teach in this program is the strategy course, which you normally take your last term. And it's interesting. Well, I'll have 10 or 12 students is all in the course, but they all know each other. They've all worked together in one way or another through courses. They're great friends, and they do tremendous work as a team. So again, I encourage you, enjoy this program and enjoy the company of the people you're with. It'll make it a lot more beneficial and a lot more fun. Okay? Why don't we then address the mechanics, assuming I can make this work. Always interesting. There we go. Everything we do is coming off of Canvas. I'm presuming you know how to get into Canvas, right? Yes. You go to eSanta Fe and go find a button for Canvas and click on it. When you do, you will have all of your courses that you're taking this term listed down here. These are the ones I'm teaching. You want to go to Management 3025, where all the sections have been combined into a single section on Canvas. So that will be where you start. I am so tech savvy, it's just scary. All right, this is our home page for Management 3025. Those are the two textbooks we're going to use. The Kanicki book is the 6th edition. If you find a copy of the 5th edition, that will suffice. Material is almost identical. Be a bit cheaper. This is the Caproni textbook, 3rd edition. It's been out a long time, and there are many used copies available, but sometimes they get a little scarce. So you want to put your hands on it. I'm going to suggest to you that the Caproni text in particular is one you may want to keep on your professional bookshelf for your future. It's some really insightful reading. Once you get to the home page, and of course there's the book information, some other information, we are asking you please to email us on Canvas. All of your correspondence to us in email, please use Canvas to do that. And email us and let us know that you are here, that you are taking the course. When we receive that email, then we will record you as attending with the registrar, which tends to help financial aid.
This is just an oh, by the way, I checked Canvas this morning, and there are a lot of you who have not done that yet.
Yeah.
And just send either one of you guys an email.
Yeah, any of us. There are some articles for you to watch, to read. And we'll find, you'll find generally you want to go to modules to see what all's happening. This is all the course material. Under modules, in the administrative documents module, is probably the most important document in the course. It's called the course schedule. The course schedule shows you the assignments each week and the work that must be turned in. You can have it open here, but if it won't open on Canvas, simply click on the download, open it on your computer, and there's your document. This is the course schedule that's showing you week by week the assignments, and then over in the far right-hand column, some additional information. I don't know if you can see that very well, but if you look on the week of February 4th, right in here, let's see if I can color that in some way. Now that's better, isn't it? A little bit. Where did I go here? Well, let's start this week, January 7th. Write-in assignment number 1, a biographical sketch, is due by noon tomorrow. That means maybe 3/4 of a page or a page, double-spaced. Tell us a little bit about where you're from and why you're here. We want to get a very quick sample of your writing ability right now. Try to get it in by noon tomorrow. Occasionally, we find students whose writing abilities are not sufficient for this course. And we want to identify that before next Monday, which is the last day to drop a class. Okay? So there's your first writing assignment due at noon on Thursday. We understand people are dragging it a little late and not always accustomed to what's happening, but if you get it to us certainly by Friday morning, we'll have time to read them and give you a little feedback in case there's any sort of an issue. As we go down here, 2 weeks from now, the 21st January is our next meeting. We do not meet every week. The meeting dates are on here. They are not every other Wednesday specifically. They vary a little bit. So you want to check this schedule and see when the class meetings are. Make sure you don't come the wrong night. Continuing down on the right side, your second writing assignment is due the 19th of January. It's got a topic, and we'll show you where to find the writing assignment and see what the directions are for it. It's due at 12 noon on Monday the 19th. Beginning with that writing assignment, at noon on the 19th, the deadline, that writing assignment will close and you will no longer be able to submit it. That means that when you do submit it, if you do later, it will be penalized 50%. There will be an open day or period of days later in the term when you can submit any late work, but it will be at a 50% penalty. Be advised that you must submit every assignment in order to pass this course. There's no skipping anything. we are trying to convey to you the mindset and the attitude that you are now a manager responsible for yourself and for others. And there is no halfway. There is no, well, I did most of it. As a manager, my opinion, your greatest responsibility is to your people. And that means you must be very, very personally responsible to see that everything gets done on time so that they're not punished or disadvantaged by your lack of organization or lack of discipline. So a disciplined approach on your part in making sure this work is submitted on time, all of it is critical. As we continue down on the evening of February 4th, we're going to have an in-class presentation of the personality system called the DISC, D-I-S-C. Especially strongly urge you to come to class that night. That will be helpful in a later assignment. Notice also February 1st is the first DC, demonstrated competency, that is due. That will be the first video you will make for us, as well as some other documentation. That's due at noon on Monday, the 2nd of February. So again, the course schedule is your guide to everything that's going on. You need to interface that with your personal schedule. Get locked into it. Do not deviate. Questions from anybody about the course schedule yet? Please do feel free to interrupt me at any time with questions. Returning back to modules. Maybe. Here we go. There's a PowerPoint on here that gives you a general overview of the course. There's some information about these assignments you have to be doing. You have 5 writing assignments, and you have 5 demonstrated competencies. This is a kind of an overview discussion on what those are all about. In addition to those 10 writing assignments and competencies, you will have a midterm and a final exam. All of this is noted in the syllabus as well. The midterm and the final exam have 3 components each. They have a test over the Knickie book, the management book, that's multiple choice. They have a test over the Caproni text, for which we give you questions to learn the answers to. And they have a financial calculations component, for which you will need to be able to use the financial calculator, which we will begin experimenting with next class. Recommended is the Texas Instruments Business Analyst 2. And if you get it on a phone app for $15, that's okay. If not, get the calculator, start bringing it to class next class. Sir, you had a question.
I was just going to ask you what model of calculator.
The Texas Instruments Business Analyst 2 is the one I use and I made all the instructional videos from. So, and Walmart, $30. This is not a $200 calculator. There are some other documents in here we ask you to read. There are autobiographical sketches from each of us so you can learn what kind of crazy people are going to be controlling your lives for the next 16 weeks. And there's a little discussion here you should probably read before you start writing anything. It says on grammar. And it is a listing of the many, many faults we have found in student writing. Take a look at that and make sure you're not guilty of any of those. So those are the administrative documents. Beyond that, here's the demonstrated competencies. The 5 assignments that you've got to prepare with a little preface that says about these competencies and some other discussion in there. Take a look at those at your leisure. Behind that are the writing assignments. Again, 5 of them. And each one, when you open it up, has instructions on what you're going to be writing on. Here's WA4 about meeting management. It wouldn't download there, so we'll download it here. Maybe. And there's your assignment. There's some references and some reading, some information, and then you see the directions right there. Let's see. So we've seen the administrative documents folder or module, the 2 assignments, student test banks. When it gets time for your midterm exams, we have prepared exam banks of questions out of the Knickie text, multiple choice questions. without answers. But there are approximately 200 questions for each exam. We give those to you now, 8 weeks in advance. We will pick 40 of those questions to be on your midterm. You beginning to suspect that working with 4 or 5 other people might be able to divide this work up a little lighter? Think about this. 8 weeks to learn the answers to 200 questions. We will pick 40 of them. If you can't learn the answers to 200 multiple choice questions with an open textbook to go find them and learn them in 8 weeks, should you have the responsibility for other people's lives? I don't think so. So what is required on the final and the midterm is that you make a 70% on each of the 3 sections, or you fail the exam. And if you fail the exam, you cannot pass the course. Okay? That means out of 40 questions, you got to get 28 of them right. If you sandbag and procrastinate and try to do all this the week before the exam, we appreciate that for our job security because you'll be here next term. Don't let that happen. Student test banks, and in fact, at one point last term, someone found our first test bank and it had been posted on the internet with answers. So I copied that and I posted it so you would have it available too. We did not make up those answers. We do not know that they are correct. Okay? Just be warned. So you have student test banks to prepare. You have a module on calculations with some videos. Teach you how to use the calculator. If you have time to do that before our next meeting in 2 weeks, you will be well ahead of the power curve. You'll be doing well. At this point, if you're going to get into the calculations, don't do anything more than the time value of money information here. Things to think about. I have no idea what I put in here. Biendansapo. Biendansapo. French for comfortable in your own skin. Any idea what that means with respect to management? It is that manager who appears comfortable and confident in their approach to what they're doing. They have meticulous attention to detail, very conscientious, incredibly good people skills, and incredibly good task knowledge. And they never get ruffled, they never lose their temper, they never get excited. They're comfortable in their own skin because they know what they're doing. The theme behind that is it's one thing to know what you need to do. Those are the skills you need. But the way to succeed is to know how to do them. What you do is important. How you do it will speak volumes. That will differentiate you from all of the other people you will be in competition with. How do you present yourself as a competent Biendansapo manager as a student in this program? Come to class, get to know us, submit work even a little bit early, get involved in the exchanges, pose questions to us anytime something occurs. Look like you've got your act together, okay? In contrast to that is another term.
Satisficer.
A satisficer.
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 It's a well-known person in college campus.
And most workplaces too.
And workplaces as well.
A satisficer is someone who does just enough to get by. They achieve the minimum possible acceptable performance record.
They're the person, if we say an assignment should be a page and a half, it's going to be 1 page, 1/2. Probably try to pick a font that's large, so it will,
In large margins.
yeah, and big margins and the whole bit, just enough to get by.
Don't be a satisficer.
We'll see you.
And we'll call you out on it. Okay? What I'm asking you to do, what we're asking you to do, starting tonight, take a look at your own personal standards of performance. Because if you're going to be responsible for the lives of other people, you better have very high damn standards. You better be a role model to everyone who ever works for you. Good ethics, good values, good skills, good communication skills, compassionate, but absolutely professional. That's what management is about. A lot of folks come into this program, I think, with a real misunderstanding on, I want to get a management degree so I can go out and make a lot of money. Well, that's not what it's all about, Moose Breath. It's all about, I'm going to pay you the extra bucks so you make sure things get done and you take care of your people. And if you're leading your life, if your personal standards are kind of slipshod, haphazard, if you're a satisficer in your own performance, what's going to happen to the people who work for you? They're going to suffer. We're going to try to identify that if we find it and put an end to it. In part, that explains why the attrition rate in this course, the rate of which people either fail or drop, is running around 50%. Because people won't stay up with the work, won't perform at a quality level. Don't let that happen. Information on the DISC profile we'll pick up at another time. When it gets time to turn in your assignments, you go to Assignments. There's a rocket science for you. Demonstrated competency number 1 will be open. Oh, it doesn't show here, but it'll be open on a particular date. Now that must not be number 1. Let's see which one. That's number 4. But when you click on it, you basically, in the student view, you'll find a button up here called Submit, and you basically upload your document as you would an attachment to email, and it comes into Canvas. Okay? You want to write in either DOC or DOCX format. Those two formats work on Canvas. Most of the others don't. Okay? Cool. Either, yeah, doc format, DOC or DOCX. There is a list here, when you click on people, of everybody in this course, so you can contact them. You don't need pages at this point, and I have now exhausted my entire knowledge of the Canvas system. Ms. Gunn is our professional on that. She knows far more than I do. If you get technical questions, she would be a great person to ask. Come in. Yes, ma'am.
Under assignments, if you go back, where would you like us to submit our assignment for tomorrow night?
That will be writing assignment number 1, which is due January 8th. Good. That's an excellent question. Your writing assignments are 20 points apiece. That's 100 points. The competencies are 30 points apiece. That's 150. That's 250 points. The exams are 75 points apiece. That's another 150 points. There are 400 points in the course. 90% of that is an A. What's 90% of 400? In your head, quickly. Public school math, try it.
70.
Public school math, right? 360 points does an A make. Okay? So you can be tracking your scores along the way. All right, I think that's pretty much what I had to cover for mechanics. Have I left anything else? Another question?
You have a 50% dropout rate. What's your percentage of people who get A's?
Of the remaining 50%, my guess is 80% of them, 75% of them make A's. It's a very clear division. Some do, some don't.
The, excuse me, the assignments that you have here are not difficult. They're not difficult, but it is a matter of being diligent, managing your time, being professional, all those things that Professor Strickland talked about. Basically, if you do those assignments just as they say in the modules, get them in on time, you're going to be just fine. Find a study group, work with that study group, and it'll be smooth sailing.
Oops. You can see it's an amateur.
So how overwhelmed, because I saw quite a few students going over the midterm and final and the face assignments, some weird facial expressions. So do you feel overwhelmed at this point?
Yes.
Okay.
You should
who
feel a
said yes?
little intimidated.
Why do you feel overwhelmed?
I just see it's a lot, like, not that I don't mind the work, it's just, it's so, because it's so divided, like writing, you know, and do you have specific dates for them? Because someone told me that you ask for them just randomly and you've got to be ready to.
We're not going to do that this term. You'll have specific dates for them. You turn them in when they're due.
So you basically have 10 assignments. You have 5 writing assignments and 5 demonstrated competencies. You have access to all the information now, so you can start working ahead of time. For the midterm and final, we strongly suggest that you form study groups. I think almost everybody that actually got in study groups last semester and worked together passed both midterm and final. They all did really well in the course. You know, study group maybe 4 or 5. Some study groups last semester had up to 10 students. And some study groups, but getting the study groups, there's 200 questions in the midterm test bank. Divide that among the members of the study group. Look up the answers to them. You know, work together as a group. So you find all the answers to all 200 questions. And then we're going to randomly pick 40 questions out of that.
That's out of the one text though, right?
Right.
That's for the midterm.
That's the.
That's 1/3 of the midterm, one part of the midterm.
And then the other text, how many questions?
On the Caproni textbook, the midterm, I think, covers the first 3 chapters, and there's about a dozen study questions, you know, discussion questions that they're on Canvas now. You can see those, read through those chapters, work up answers.
Questions as well.
You get all of that in advance. And if you sit down with the videos and then come to class with your calculator, it's very doable. Very doable.
Just kind of to paraphrase in my head. So you got 40 questions that you're pulling at random for the midterm. Are you pulling an additional 40 for the final as
The
well?
final exam has a whole different test bank.
And is it going to be a completely different set of 40 questions, or are you going to pull some of the same 40?
No, the first exam covers the first 8 chapters, and the final covers the last 8 chapters, so it's totally different material.
All right.
Okay? Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Do you have a recommended time frame for waiting to turn things in? I know that we have the due dates, and you don't always want to wait till the last minute, but do you recommend not turning it in so early, or?
No?
I didn't know if there was ever like, oh no, don't turn it in yet because we're going to cover items for that item in a class or anything like that.
There is certainly, in fact, the probability that will occur. I would tell you, I would be opening up those assignments and thinking about them now, and I'd be coming back to the next class, and it's very fair to say, listen, I was reading up on writing assignment number 3. I got a couple of questions. Bingo, let's talk about it.
What I would suggest is that, to the degree that you can, and I know people have lives. I mean, you have families and you have jobs and all of that stuff. I've been there. So, but to the extent that you can get things done early, you have a huge advantage because you can have a peer or someone who you respect and that kind of thing, or someone who you know has been successful in this course.
Or your mom.
Yeah.
Have your mom proofread it?
Have them proofread the thing before you turn it in. People just, if you get the chance, make sure that you get someone to proofread the work that you turn.
Yes, sir.
On Canvas, is there any sort of like calendar that shows when the assignments are due and whatnot like that?
There is a calendar. I don't trust it. I don't trust the Canvas calendar. That's why I tell you to go to the course schedule.
The course schedule, it just tells you everything that you need to know day by day. If you just follow
One of those in orange and yellow?
Yeah. Download it to your computer, put it on your desktop, and just click on it, and it's always there. It's the easiest way to do it.
Well, there was one,
You had a question earlier.
I have two little questions.
You only get one.
What's the difference
try for the
between
second
a
one.
writing assignment and the competency?
What is the difference? The competency typically takes a little more effort.
Is it still writing?
Videos, charts, writing. Yes.
I'm sorry. I love study groups, but sometimes I wouldn't want someone else to get a question wrong and then give me that answer and we go over it. If I take all of the 200 and then the next 12 and I do all the answers for them and I come to your office hour, will you go over it and make sure all of mine are correct?
We will not tell you any answer as correct or not.
You're a teacher.
And we don't suggest that you take on all 200 questions by yourself.
No, we will not tell you if an answer is correct or not. We will discuss a question with you, but we will not tell you decisively, yes, that's right.
And remember, part of what you're doing is, as you're learning how to be a manager, is you have to work with a team. You're going to be assigning things, delegating things to people when you become a manager. You have to have the confidence in that person that they're going to be able to do the job while at the same time being responsible for yourself.
We are intentionally introducing a little bit of ambiguity into this course because life is ambiguous. My suggestion with respect to the Kinnicky questions, the multiple choice, is that if I had a group of 5 people, every question would have someone assigned to it and someone else would follow up and check that answer. And if I had 10 people in my study groups, I might have an answer checked twice. But these are managerial processes and decisions. What's the most efficient way to go about getting this done?
There's one here, and there was a young man over there.
I know that some of the other professors in the degree track are willing to proofread any assignments that are done early if we submit them to go over. Is it possible with you guys, like if we finish writing assignment 2 tomorrow, to have you guys look over it to give us any comments or feedback so that way we can modify it?
Regrettably, no. We have 100 students just in this course. We haven't time to read every assignment 2, maybe 3 times. Got another question?
What I would suggest, if you complete writing assignments early, if you look on your Canvas at the bottom of the, not on Canvas, on the bottom of East Santa Fe, you'll see where it says online tutoring, smartthinking.com.
It's on Canvas.
And click on that link. You can submit your writing assignments, you can submit your papers. Give them about 24 to 48 hours to respond, but they will go through and basically, and they're all English professors from all over, but they will go through and grade it.
The writing lab as well.
Good, there's a writing lab in G, I believe it's 6?
Yeah, right across.
Yeah, right across the hall. We will be looking carefully at grammar, syntax, spelling, punctuation, and we will reject work that doesn't meet standards. But we're also looking for content. What did you say? Do you reflect in your writing the fact that you, in fact, spent some time thinking about this and have some pretty good insight on the topic? Feel free to access additional research on the internet at any time. Cite your sources. Imagine that each of those assignments is something your boss has asked you for.
Do you have a preference for citing APA or?
No. No, that's for academics and we're business people. We're very much into what works. Yes, ma'am.
How do the study groups typically work? Because I live over an hour away, so I'm not...
We have had several virtual study groups form and use Google Docs and other sharing technologies and have done so very successfully. Anything else?
Skype's probably another resource for that as well.
I'm sorry?
Skype's probably another resource for that as well, with video conferencing.
Certainly with your fellow students, yeah. I neglected to mention, I have an office here on campus in A31, and I'm out here usually at least Monday through Thursday but on a somewhat intermittent schedule depending on my classes. But anytime any of you would like to visit or chat, please let me know. Email me. We'll set an appointment time at a time convenient to the two of us. And if we can't meet here on campus, you can buy me a cup of coffee somewhere. How about that? Okay? What else is on your mind? Yes, ma'am? Your quota is now used up. Go ahead.
I'm done after this. On Wednesdays that we don't meet here, is there a class in this room?
Yes, I meet with my strategy class on those Wednesdays. The evenings, these classrooms with the recording facilities are pretty well taken up. But if you want to meet with people, the library has meeting rooms you can reserve. You can meet with a group in there. Yes, ma'am?
Did I see somewhere that the filming that you do is posted somewhere in case we aren't able to make a meeting?
Yes, we will. We are videoing every class, and then I will post it typically to my YouTube channel. Okay. And I will give you an announcement on Canvas that says, here's the link, go watch it. Usually I'll get to that by Friday.
I know you just said that usually this room is occupied. I was just curious if you could tell us if there's a class right after this one.
No, typically right after this class, the student organization for the management degree meets in here. So they take it up.
Could you explain what that is?
The SOM unit, Supervision and Organizational Management, is the initial title of the degree. Think of it as the Students of Organizational Management, SOM. This is a student club on campus that periodically brings in speakers, puts on discussion panels, and otherwise invites you to get involved and both build the relationships within the unit and offers you other opportunities, typically civic club activities, community involvement, volunteer work, stuff like that.
So how does organizational management differ from this class? This is business?
This class is really a principles of management class. It's the first management class people take, beginning a degree towards management. Yeah. And the degree itself is a Bachelor's of Applied Science in Organizational Management.
Okay, thank you.
And we have several of our graduates headed off to graduate school too, in case you wonder about the value of the degree. What else is on your mind? Yes, ma'am.
On your YouTube channel, do you delete them from past semesters, or can we go back and just like check out?
I typically delete them. Some of them are probably still up there. We'll try to be a little more structured. In the past, in our evening meetings, they've been very much what we're doing right now, just conversational. I'm thinking we're going to do just a little bit more of a more formal presentation on a topic or two here and there, and I'll try to edit those out and save them for future consumption.
One of the things I learned in grad school, if you just wait long enough, sooner or later someone will speak up.
It happens in here every night. Yes, ma'am?
See?
It says on here the course requires the ability to video record yourself and post the video to your own YouTube account.
Yes.
Can we use like an iPhone to record ourselves, or does it need to be?
I've never used my iPhone to then upload to YouTube. Students I've talked to in the past, some were successful and some were not. It is technologically far beyond my pay grade.
I will tell you, I just some advice for fellow students. If you do use your iPhone and put it on YouTube, once you get your YouTube channel, it takes them 24 hours to approve it, so make sure you don't put it off, because you won't have your video available.
So the video we have to post to YouTube?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a fairly simple matter to create your own account, and then when you upload your video to YouTube, you can check it as private or public or unlisted. You want to check it as unlisted and give us the URL. That way nobody else can see it. And we only share it with our friends.
Such trepidation, I see.
Because I was thinking, when I took the writing class last semester, I think we uploaded it through Canvas.
You might have.
You can.
Okay.
You won't have Canvas in the real world. I want you ready to function outside of Santa Fe.
Okay. We're going to learn some YouTube.
How many of you are on LinkedIn? What is LinkedIn?
It's a social network for business people.
Yeah, Facebook for business, Facebook for professionals. And you can post your resume and all kinds of claims, etc. And you can post your video. And so if you were actively looking for a job, you could have a really first-class video up there along with your other stuff and send that link out to potential employers. And I'll tell you this, as a potential employer, I'd a whole lot rather have to go back and watch a few videos than go through the horrible process of bringing you in and interviewing you. Well, I have another challenge for you, too. I don't know if challenge is the right word. I don't know when you plan to graduate, but I want very much that you already have a job lined up before you graduate. I don't think there's an excuse for not doing that. I think you can be going out and doing internships, volunteer work, joining organizations, making connections over the next 1 or 2 years, or 3 or 4, depending on your pace, so that by the time you finish this program, people know you, know what you can do, and if they're not offering you a job, they know people who are. I want to share the story for a moment of a former student. His name is John Spence. When he came to Santa Fe, he had failed out of the University of Miami, which was really quite a spectacular job, seeing as one of the wings of the law school there was named for his father. John does not do things by halves. He came to the University of Florida, who laughed at him and said, "We don't want you here," and he came to Santa Fe. At Santa Fe, he figured out how to do the game. At Santa Fe, he became a solid A student in every course, while running a small advertising business on the side. He went from here to the University of Florida and did his bachelor's degree in public relations. And about 2 terms before he graduated the University of Florida, he had figured out that what he really wanted to do was to work in the maritime industry, if you will, marine industry. He loves to fish. His mother ran a charter boat down in Miami. And he thought, how can I find a job with a public relations degree where I get to fish, preferably fish off big boats, catching marlin and sailfish, rubbing elbows with rich people, and when we're done fishing for the day, go back to the beach, go into the marina, and sit back and have a rum drink served by a pretty girl. Now that's the kind of career I want. He told me that when he was a senior in college. I said, "You're out of your mind." And a few weeks later, I said, I ran into him, "How are you doing?" He said, "Well, I figured something out." He said, Did you know that the state of Florida is a peninsula?" I'm thinking, that education you get down the road at the University of Florida is pretty damn good, you know? They got the geography down pat. He said, "No, you don't understand. Every weekend in the state of Florida, there are fishing tournaments up and down the coasts, everywhere." He says, "I found out where the tournaments are. And I pick one out every weekend or every other weekend. I drive over on Friday afternoon. I go down to the marina where they're unloading their boats. I get out of my car and start asking around. I say, 'Who's the tournament director?' And they always introduce me to the tournament director, and I say, 'Hi, my name's John Spence. I love to fish. I know a fair good bit about it, and I'm here to volunteer. I just want to work and be around this. I'll chip ice, I'll cut bait, I'll fix rods and reels, I'll work on your boats. I just want to be here and get involved.' And he would get involved. And he's a very personable sort of guy, wonderful to talk to. And inevitably, by Friday night, after drinks at the marina, he would be invited to go out on one of the boats with the fishermen on Saturday. He would spend the whole day with the 3 or 4 fishermen on a nice big boat catching marlin and sailfish. And then they'd come back to the marina at night, and you know what they did, right? They went down to the bar and had a few drinks. And Sunday, he'd go out with another boat. And Sunday afternoon or Sunday night, he'd drive home. And by then, he had 5 or 6 business cards, maybe 10 or 12, of the fishermen he had met. And he would write each one of them a handwritten note saying, it was such a pleasure to meet you. Hope your son Johnny does good in his soccer game next week, blah, blah, blah. And maintain those contacts. And after making a few tournaments like that, he had a network of what kind of people?
Rich fish.
Rich people who fish in tournaments and drink rum drinks afterwards. So when he got ready to search for a job, he graduated, I think it was in May, around January, he sent out 6 resumes. That's all. He picked the 6 people on his list he thought had the best contacts, sent out 6 resumes and said, you know me. I've seen you at a couple of tournaments. You know my work ethic. You know my people skills. I'm the #3 public relations graduate in the United States this year. I'm very competent, but I'm also a hard worker, and you know it. I'm looking for some employment in the marine industry, in the fishing industry. Would you please share my resume with anybody you think might be interested? And a few weeks later, the phone rang, and a man on the other end said, is this John Spence? And he said, yes, it is. And the man said, my name is Winthrop Rockefeller. I'm the former governor of Arkansas. Maybe you know the name. Oh, yes, sir, I know. Yes, sir. He says, I have a nonprofit foundation down in Miami called the Billfish Foundation. It raises money to be used for research into fishing. We need a public relations director down there, and I'm holding your resume. Would you like to interview for that job? Absolutely. He went down there a few weeks later, having done all the research he could on the billfish industry, on the Billfish Foundation, on the Rockefellers, on nonprofits and fundraising, went down with a proposal on what he would do if he was a public relations director. Bingo, got the job. The day he graduated college, he moved back to Miami and went to work for the Billfish Foundation. 2 years later, they fired their chief executive and promoted him above everybody else and put him in charge. And before age 30, he was running a Rockefeller Foundation. He's not any swifter than me or you. He just had a well thought out plan and he executed it. I would like to see you think in those same sort of ways. Where do you want to be and how are you going to get there? Now go make it happen. Okay?
Yes, sir.
One of the assignments that you have has to do with you identifying your specific network. I found that a number of students kind of devalue that assignment. They don't think of it as being that important, but that story tells a lot. What you put into creating your network, nurturing your network, giving to your network, giving back, making it a back and forth kind of a thing, can be extremely, extremely important when it comes to what your career is going to look like. So that's a great story, but it's real life. No matter whether this is your first class, whether you've never had a job before, or you've been in the workforce for 30, 40 years.
John is listed as one of the top 100 thought leaders in business in America. He's been that successful. He's consulted and trained with many of the Fortune 100 companies. He's very successful. He still lives here in Gainesville, still a very good friend. And occasionally we can talk him into coming to class, and occasionally we can set him up and get some people to meet him and talk to him, as Mr. Kirkpatrick did this morning.
Guys, I'm going to tell you this. Mr. John Spence, I heard about him in my microeconomics course. That was last semester, and I was just like, okay, this John Spence guy, he's like this really important dude apparently. And so then I look him up on my computer, I'm researching him, and then I finally get to meet him this morning. And I'm telling you, he is the real deal. He is just so motivated about what he does. He puts in more work than I've ever seen anybody ever do before. It's incredible, just the amount of work he can do. He has a vision and then he just executes, and that's what I'm hoping to do here in Santa Fe.
That's a good guy. All right, any other comments or questions for the moment? I have a guest I've asked to come speak to you from experience. Teresa?
Yeah,
this is Teresa Glazer. She's a graduate of the BAS program in organizational management. And soon the scars will be healed.
Yeah, soon.
And I've asked her to come in and talk to us. Come on over here, please.
Hello. I started with the first program, so it was the first semester it was taught. But I graduated, I guess, summer. They don't really graduate summer, so I walked winter, I guess. So I told him when I graduated I'd love to come back because I remember this first class, and I remember him telling us and warning us about, I can see in the mirror, my hair's all sorry. I was like, I can see it back there. About him telling us not to take certain courses together. Of course, 3 out of the 4 he told me not to take together I was signed up for. Hey. So I wished I'd listened. I came back to school after 25 years. I got my AS degree, and so came back to school. So not only did I have to kind of catch up on technology, I had to go back to school after these years, and so I took full-time school, full-time work, and I have a son. So he was right. I should have not taken all those classes together. But more importantly, I wanted to come back to say that the teachers in this program they're very dedicated, and they're not going to do more work than you do, but they are, if you need the help and you're showing them, you can come to them at any time and talk with them, and don't get too far behind before that happens, because you will. And if they say you will, you will. Even being a mature adult, I should listen to Strickland about how quickly things get away from you. So staying on top of it is the best. And the other thing is the study buddies. You will do a lot of group exercises, and the only reason I survived it is we had have a group that we went through it together, and we graduated all together. One graduated a semester before us, but we walked together. And that's the only way we got through, because whatever he was strong in finance or marketing, I was stronger in selling. She was the computer one, and she'd help us with the programs that we hadn't worked with in ever. So if they tell you to get a group together, that's the best thing, and that's the only reason I got through it, was to be able to have the groups, study groups together. Not everybody might get along, but you're all going to have your strengths. So I told him I wanted to come back because I remember being here 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and so it's grown because the class is bigger than it was than that one. So I also said I was open for any questions if you had it from a student's perspective on, I think the organization's important to stay involved with.
Did you get involved in the SOM?
Yeah, I did. I didn't go. It was very new when we started, and unfortunately they met a night I had to work, so I didn't get to all of them, but I did make some very good connections through that.
What would you say is the most important thing you learned in this class?
I've been in retail management for 25 years, and though I love to be able to give my perspective in some of the classes because some of the kids had not done, selling, or I now work for, my brother owns, as a co-owner in Logo Kick, and I'm now helping him run it. And the difference was seeing the business side of it. I know the retail side of it. I know the selling side like the back of my hand. I didn't know the business end. And so it's an eye-opener to be able to help my brother's business grow through taking finance and, accounting and all of those that I didn't know the backside of it, because when you work in retail, you manage payroll, you do sales, but you don't get the big part of the owning your own business. So the entrepreneur class, there was stuff and people that I learned and how they get started. And my brother's a huge entrepreneur, so it just had me a better respect for what it takes to start your own businesses.
Is an entrepreneurship class here?
Yes.
Your brother's the president of the chamber?
He's the chair, the president of the chair now. He did it for 2 years, but now he's
Gainesville Area Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
Very successful.
Yeah. He owns several businesses, so I only help him with one. But it was able to talk to him I'm his younger sister, and even though I know the selling, it was easy for me to talk to him about, the marketing side of it and be able to back it up with a degree behind it, so.
I was talking more specifically about this class, though, not the whole degree, the management aspect. Do you remember? I mean, it was a while ago.
The scars are real bad. The papers.
Yeah. Go ahead, you won't hurt my feelings. I don't have any left.
Well, I will tell you, he does read all of them. I'm surprised. There's a lot of papers here. The reflections, I did tell him at the end, I go, please don't make me do another reflection. I can't. in this class, if I remember correctly, a lot of the papers had to do with a lot of the, if I remember, the management side and more of the perspective of, I know we did one for Dress for Success. We did the test you do with your wife. That I really learned a lot about my personality and the mixtures between the two.
Yeah.
And what I guess I learned in most of them, after taking his class, I would be reading something else and it would come up. It would say,
Yeah.
well, you're an I, or you're an, or, and I'd go, well, now I know what they're talking about. So that's what I learned the most in his, and the fact that I could write better than I thought I could, but,
Yeah.
and dig deeper on why I do and why people make the decisions that they do. So for his class, because that was the first semester, so that was a little while ago.
Let me interject a comment there. In the Caproni book, one of the things you're going to read is that the biggest, most common reason managers fail is because they do not know themselves. A lack of self-knowledge. How do people see you? How do you sound? How do you come across? What are your weaknesses? They just don't know. And so a good bit of the focus in this course is going to be you focusing on you.
And now that I remember, that is probably the biggest. Being in management, some of the mistakes I made in personnel, I realized that came from that. And that why I reacted to a person the way I did is because of their personality and how I should have listened better. And part of the reason I stepped back from being in retail management is the personnel issue. I love what I did, but I felt like I wasn't relating to this millennial generation as well. And it was because I needed to really reflect and look about how to manage better.
Yep.
And it was a huge help.
Well, thank you.
Did you plan on changing, I shouldn't say career paths, but did you plan on that change when you started this?
I wanted to step back, and I thought I wanted to teach. I thought I wanted out of retail. I thought I'd love to teach what I do because I love customer service, and I don't think people teach it, and I don't think people teach how to dress for interviews anymore.
Right.
Because that used to be in school, and they don't do it anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I stepped back to work for my brother and to just work because the schedule worked for school. And I totally went a different path. So my other suggestion is to keep an open mind because there is an entrepreneur. Somebody said, is there an entrepreneur class? There is. I would have never thought to start a business ever, but he shows you how to get through it. Yeah, I would have never. I thought I would have been doing this. Though I love it.
Like you, I'm coming back to school after 27 years, and I've been working with my father in his business for 21 of those, and I'm the next one in line to take over the business, and that's kind of why I thought I'd come back and learn some stuff in school.
Because I talked to Strick, and I was like, I'm having a hard time for them to understand why I think they need to do this. And he's like, well, why don't you approach it this way? And so, as his baby sister was talking to him, he had to listen a little bit about some cost. So, because they're like, yeah, but you don't run a business. Yes, but in my class, I learned. So it helps.
Yeah, I have to be careful not to tell my father that.
Well, I work with my brother, so it's family. I get it. I get it. Trust me, I get it. And I'm the baby, so it's huge deal.
We'll create a special assignment for you called TACT.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I have had to use a lot of it working for me.
I've had to use experience with. Though I've learned not to do that with him, so yeah.
I mean, my brother, just a background, he owns, he started several companies. He owns a hotel in Nebraska, and he has a real estate company, and so he's been in the business world for a very long time. So for me to be able to stand up and say yes, but has been huge.
And he did, and he did your advice. Yeah, very good.
Yep.
Very good.
Little sisters talk.
Yeah, that's right. And I got a degree behind me now. So yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you for your insight and
You're very welcome.
your experience. So.
Professor Strickland likes, one of the things he does sometimes, he talks about the demographics of the people who are in this program. And if you look around, you'll see that many of us are not the typical student. I think, we can guess, the average age in this program is?
He did that last time.
19.
The average age of a college sophomore at a university is 20 years old. The average age of a student in the organizational management program at Santa Fe is
45.
45?
I'm going to say
35.
32.
32? The last stats I saw, it was 34. But because the average is 34, the deviation from that among the population is rather large. We have a number of 20-year-olds and a number of 40 and 50-year-olds, and even older. And in many ways, this is like teaching a graduate course. Because when you're teaching older people, they don't put up with a lot of nonsense. And that's great. That's the way it ought to be.
That's correct.
Yeah. Now, if you get abusive, I'll go back and change your grade. But other than that, sure. Anybody else? Anything else? It is not unheard of later in the term, after class, for a couple of us to journey over to La Fiesta.
He has his own tables coming.
It's not that bad.
No.
But they serve, you know, Mexican food and beer.
Delicious
and,
Mexican food.
Yes, excellent.
So it's a great chance to go over there and swill down a mouthful of beer and call me any name you want, and I'll just think you were drinking too much.
I'll testify.
Oh, you called me a lot of names. Okay, anybody else, anything? Correspond with us on Canvas email. Check in with us, make sure we know you're attending. Any questions or doubts, send one of us at least an email and let us help clarify it. Despite sounding like the Gestapo up here, does everybody know what the Gestapo is anymore?
That's the demographic.
Despite sounding like we're monsters, we really have every interest in seeing you be successful.
And that.
Okay? All right. Going once. Any more questions?
Yeah, I'll be here afterwards.
As usual. Go ahead, Preston.
I'm interested in starting a study group with people. Okay, she's in. Yeah. If y'all could come up and put your names down on this piece of paper.
Why don't you do a discussion on Canvas?
There's one already. Do that?
Yeah.
That would work.
There's one already that's been.
Is there a Christina in this class?
Yeah, I saw someone that already.
You might be on the online section. Is that you? Okay. Would you mind? I guess I'll come talk to you after class. That work?
There is probably an SOM meeting here at 7, so you've got 20 minutes to socialize and make lists or get to know each other. By all means, do that. Okay?
Just out of curiosity, can I see by a raise of hands who here has above a 3.5 GPA? I'm interested in talking to you guys.
Oh, well.
That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
As long as you guys are focused.
Too bad, I have a 3.49.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah.
See you in 2 weeks.
I graduated over there.
Thank you very much.